students, we are now aware of a number of aspects of reproductive health: changes during adolescence, sex-related issues, population explosion, female feticide, birth control measures, to name a few. We also understand how these problems can be addressed to ensure that we build a nation which can boast of all its people being reproductively healthy. At the end of this class, learners will explain and assess the need and misuse of medical termination of pregnancy, along with the causes and prevention of sexually transmitted infections. Explain the various causes of infertility, along with the assisted reproductive technologies which can help resolve the problems. Exhibit scientific and rational thinking, along with becoming gender-sensitive, empathetic citizens. Now, we will discuss medical termination of pregnancy. Intentional or voluntary termination of pregnancy before full term is called as medical termination of pregnancy or induced abortion. Nearly 1/5 of the total number of conceived pregnancies in the world are subjected to medical termination in a year. What is the need for an MTP, that is, medical termination of pregnancy? MTP is generally needed in 3 situations. First, to get rid of unwanted pregnancy caused due to casual, unprotected coitus. Second, when a contraceptive fails during coitus. And third, it is essential in certain cases where continuation of the pregnancy would be harmful or even fatal, either to the mother or to the fetus, or even both. MTP involves emotional, ethical, religious, and social issues, and hence there has always been a debate on whether to accept and legalize MTP or not. In India, medical termination of pregnancy was legalized in 1971 with some strict conditions. Do you agree that strict conditions need to be imposed for conducting an MTP? It is needed to avoid its misuse and check indiscriminate female feticide. You have already studied about amniocentesis and how it is misused to determine the sex of the unborn child. Frequently, if the fetus is found to be a female, it is followed by an MTP. This is totally wrong, legally, morally, and ethically. The second reason is that it is often observed that MTPs are performed illegally by unqualified quacks, which are not only unsafe but could be fatal too. Now, let us understand up to what stage of pregnancy can an MTP be conducted. MTPs are considered relatively safe during the first trimester, that is, up to 12 weeks of pregnancy. Second trimester abortions are much more riskier. Nevertheless, the Government of India, through an act in 2017, legalized medical termination of pregnancy between 12 to 24 weeks on the opinion of 2 medical practitioners. However, this is allowed only if, first, the continuation of the pregnancy would involve a risk to the life of the pregnant woman or cause grave injury to her physical or mental health. Second, there is a substantial risk that the child born would suffer from such physical or mental abnormalities as to be seriously handicapped. Dear students, how do you think we can reduce the need for MTPs? This can be achieved through effective counseling on the need to avoid unprotected coitus, through generating awareness about the risk factors involved in illegal abortions, and through providing more and better health care facilities. The next aspect of reproductive health that we need to address is infections or diseases which are transmitted sexually and are collectively called as sexually transmitted infections or venereal diseases or reproductive tract infections. Let us now list some of the common sexually transmitted infections: gonorrhea, syphilis, genital herpes, chlamydiasis, genital warts, trichomoniasis, hepatitis B, and of course, the most discussed and dreaded infection in the recent years, HIV leading to AIDS. It is important to note that hepatitis B and HIV can also be transmitted by sharing of injection needles, surgical instruments with infected persons, transfusion of blood, or from an infected mother to the fetus too. Except hepatitis B, genital herpes, and HIV infections, other sexually transmitted infections are completely curable if detected early and treated properly in time. Let us now see how these infections can be recognized. In some cases, infected females may be asymptomatic. It is important to understand that early symptoms of most of these infections are minor and include itching, fluid discharge, slight pain, swellings, etc. in the genital region. But if timely treatment is not provided, they may lead to complications like pelvic inflammatory diseases, abortions, stillbirths, ectopic pregnancies, infertility, or even cancer of the reproductive tract. Do you know that very often these infections go undetected and untreated? What factors, in your opinion, could be responsible for this? It is so because of lack of awareness about the causes, symptoms, and the treatments available. It is also because of the social stigma attached to sexually transmitted infections. Another reason is absence of symptoms in the early stages of infection. Prevention of sexually transmitted infections is completely possible, provided some precautions are strictly followed. These are: avoid sex with unknown or multiple partners, always use condoms during coitus. In case of doubt, one should go to a qualified doctor for an early detection and get complete treatment if diagnosed with an infection. Children, you have already studied how reproduction takes place in humans. You may recall that gametogenesis, fertilization, and implantation are the important events in reproduction in humans. What do you think could be the consequence of one or more of these events not occurring normally? It will result in infertility. Infertility is the inability to produce children in spite of unprotected sexual cohabitation. Another important aspect of reproductive health. Let us now discuss the reasons for infertility. These could be really diverse: physical, congenital, diseases, drugs, immunological or psychological reasons could be there. In India, it is the female who is almost always blamed for the couple being childless. But more often than not, the problem lies in the male partner. We must realize that in a reproductively healthy society, all aspects need to be addressed objectively without attributing gender biases to the problems. Specialized healthcare units or infertility clinics could help in diagnosis and corrective treatment of some of these disorders and enable these couples to have children. However, where such corrections are not possible, the couples could be assisted to have children through certain special techniques, commonly known as assisted reproductive technologies. Dear learners, have you come across the term test tube baby? Do you think babies can be produced in test tubes? Definitely not. Let us understand what it means. In vitro fertilization or IVF is fertilization carried outside the body of the female in almost similar conditions as those present in the body. This is followed by embryo transfer, abbreviated as ET, and is one of the many assisted reproductive technologies available. In this method, popularly known as test tube baby program, ova from the wife or the female donor and sperms from the husband or the male donor are collected and are induced to form a zygote under simulated conditions in the laboratory. The zygote or early embryos with up to 8 blastomeres could then be transferred to the fallopian tube. This is called as ZIFT, zygote intrafallopian transfer. Find out who was the first test tube baby of India. The first test tube baby of India, Durga or Kanupriya Agarwal, was born on 3rd October 1978. The embryos with more than 8 blastomeres are transferred into the uterus, commonly referred to as intrauterine transfer or IUT. The transferred embryo now completes its further development inside the body of the female. Embryos formed by in vivo fertilization, that is, fusion of gametes within the female, also can be used for such a transfer to assist those females who cannot conceive. Many a times, a female cannot produce an ovum, but can provide a suitable environment for fertilization and further development. In such cases, an ovum collected from a donor can be transferred into her fallopian tube. This is commonly called as gamete intrafallopian transfer or GIFT, G-I-F-T. When dealing with male infertility, intracytoplasmic sperm injection, ICSI, is another specialized and effective procedure to form an embryo in the laboratory. In this, a sperm is directly injected into the ovum. Infertility caused either due to inability of the male partner to inseminate the female or due to very low sperm counts in the ejaculates can be corrected by artificial insemination or AI technique. In this technique, the semen collected either from the husband or a healthy donor is artificially introduced either into the vagina or into the uterus of the female. This is called as intrauterine insemination IUI. Assisted reproductive technologies offer many options to childless couples, but these benefits are available to a limited few. Can we think of some reasons for the above? These techniques require extremely high precision handling by specialized professionals. They need expensive instrumentation. These facilities are presently available only in very few centers in the country. Emotional, religious, and social factors also are deterrents in the adoption of these methods. The ultimate aim of all these procedures is to have children. In India, we have so many orphaned and destitute children who would probably not survive till maturity unless taken care of. Our laws permit legal adoption, and it is as yet one of the best methods which can help childless couples. Don't you think it is indeed one of the best methods for couples looking for parenthood? Discuss with your peers. Let us now reinforce the concepts learned. Female feticide is not just killing of a girl child. It is in fact a crime against humanity. Justify. The hint, altered sex ratios can lead to long-term impacts. Which assisted reproductive technology would you recommend to a couple where the male partner has low sperm counts? ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injections. Name 2 sexually transmitted diseases caused by bacteria and 2 caused by a virus. Bacterial diseases, gonorrhea, syphilis. Viral diseases, AIDS, herpes. All sexually transmitted diseases are not reproductive tract infections. Give examples to justify. Some sexually transmitted diseases like AIDS and hepatitis do not cause any infections in the reproductive tract or genitals. They are therefore not referred to as reproductive tract infections. As we conclude the chapter, I am sure you are all now more aware of the various aspects of reproductive health and will contribute positively towards attainment of our national goal. Thank you.